In this video, I'm going to be talking a bit about shadow work. So for those of you who haven't heard about shadow work is a form of healing which we do when we're integrating the dense aspects of ourselves into our personalities. And so we can think of our shadows as sub-personalities or as entities separate to us which enter our field, which is our energy field, in order to evolve in some way. And so shadow aspects could be a part of us which is very anxious, a part of us which is very controlling, and we think of them as negative and as things that we don't necessarily want in us. But an important part of healing our shadow is realizing that our shadow has helped us to grow in certain ways, and we call in these energies for certain reasons in order to then learn from their presence in our field. So shadow work, when we do this practice, it's a form of meditation that we can do, which is calling forward the shadow aspects of ourselves. And that could be these forms I mentioned: an anxious form, a sad form, a part of us which we feel doesn't work with who we'd like to be, which doesn't work with who we are aspiring to be at this moment. And what we must acknowledge when we do shadow work is that there is a lot of gratitude to be had for the presence of these shadows in our field, and that they've come into our bodies because the human body is a vessel for healing and for evolution, and we come to this planet to heal. If we look at all the abundance that nature can give us and all the healing properties and the medicinal properties of plants, we can just see how abundant and how healing this earth is. And our bodies themselves are here to undergo a process of physical and spiritual evolution on this planet. And in the same way we've come to earth to evolve and to heal, as do these entities and these shadows come into our fields in order to evolve in some way. So these shadows don't come into our lives to work against us. They come because at some point we may need this protection. Like, for instance, I definitely feel I have a shadow of control, and it's because in my life I've felt the need to control stuff that hasn't been in my own ability to control, and that control has been a form of protection for me and a form of pacifying what I'm going through. But as I've gotten older and I've realized that everything is okay and I don't need to control my reality, but instead I allow a flow of abundance and a flow of trust to come through my body, which will lead to the best possible situations, I've realized that the shadow of control is no longer needed in my field. And so a part of my own journey is accepting and embracing the shadow and having so much gratitude for its presence in my field, and for telling the shadow, I'm so grateful for your presence here, but now I'd like you to evolve. And a form of shadow work I recently learned about is seeing your shadow as a sub-personality in a meditation, and then calling forward a guide or an angel or a protector, someone who could come through and to help you to transfer light to this being so that it can evolve and stay in your field, as opposed to leaving your body. And for a long time what I've been doing is I acknowledge my shadow. So I go into a meditation, I ask the shadow of control to come forward, and then either I have a conversation and a dialogue, or I try to experience what the shadow feels like in my body and where it's affecting my body. And from there, I then imagine that my heart space is opening up into a golden light, which then runs directly through into my crown. And I hug and embrace this shadow. And so a lot of time when I hug and embrace these shadows, you see these shadows transforming into other things. Like I've hugged shadows and then see them turn into babies or children. And that transfer of love in that physical form, when you visualize yourself giving your shadow a hug, softens that being to such an extent that actually they do then change in that instance. And then you can ask them, I would like you to now please leave my field, and just visualize the shadow entering your heart space and leaving your body up through the crown into the light of creation, into the light of source, to transmute into something higher. Or you could also ask for the earth to help you transmute this energy. So you could say, I now ask for the earth to please remove this entity, this energy from my energy body and from my being, to transmute into higher life forms, to evolve into a higher life form. Because all we want for this being is to say thank you to it and to really acknowledge that, wow, I've brought this in. For instance, if you have the shadow of anxiety, you can say, I've brought this anxiety in order to get closer to what my true nature is, which is peace. And as I become more peaceful, I realize that this anxiety and this anxious thought form and this energy no longer fits with who I'd like to be ideally. So thank you so much for showing me, for teaching me about your way of being. I'm so grateful for your presence here, but now it's time for you to evolve as well. And for these shadows, all they want is to be acknowledged, and all they want is to experience your gratitude, because nothing comes into our life for no reason. And when we accept that, we can actually really move forward in our life with a lot of positivity and a lot of hope. Because if you look at every opportunity that we have as a learning experience, or every opportunity we have as an ability to heal, then we can be grateful for every single opportunity and experience we have, and we can learn and grow through all of them. Whereas if we get stuck in a situation and we don't like it, and we go, well, why is this shadow here? Why is this energy here? It doesn't agree with me, I don't want it. We are creating friction, and we aren't accepting these things from a love space. And so that friction actually causes us to not evolve or heal as quickly, because we aren't accepting that it's come for a reason. And you know, a big part of healing and a big part of evolving ourselves is accepting what we've been through and forgiving as well. And so a big part of shadow work is also forgiving this energy. If you feel like it's working against you, is forgive it for whatever you feel this energy has done to you, and acknowledge just how important it is for your spiritual evolution to have had this experience with this energy. So yeah, that's all on shadow work for today. I'm sure that I'll have much more to say about it, and I definitely want to do a meditation soon on the shadow and integrating those darker aspects of ourselves into our field. And another part of, before I end actually, another part of integrating the shadow is realizing that the yin and the yang are in constant tandem with each other, and we experience the world in duality. And so accepting the nature of reality and accepting ourselves is also accepting the dense aspects of our lives as well as the positive, and seeing the beauty and the growth in both. And then at the same time coming back to a neutral perspective on both, and saying that at the same time I am still just the neutral observer of all that's happening to me. The happiness, the sadness, it's all being watched from a neutral perspective of stillness. And that's a very important mindset to come into when we feel overburdened by whatever we're experiencing. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video, and sending you loads of love.